Hey, transformational prevention again. Oh my. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't you, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Won't you, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. But we'll start to accept you, take my hand and know me better. Hey, know me better, love me better. Hey, take me better, love me better. It's the transformational parenting show with Ramatu Aldue.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the program Transformational Parenting, your parenting show, and I am Mute Olori. On this show, as usual, it's our responsibility to nurture you with the right skills that you need so that you'll be able to transform yourself by the renewing of your mind to align with what is prevalent and the present way of parenting a child. There's so many things contending with our children. Sometimes as parents, we overlook such things because we just feel that they are children, they are teenagers. What should be bothering them? Are they responsible for the school fees? Are they responsible for rent? What should be bothering a child to the extent that they feel distinct and distant from you as a parent? There are times they fall into such mood swings that we become irritated by their behavior and attitude. But do we really pause to take the time to find out exactly why they do the things they do and why they behave the way they behave? I've seen where children feel that as parents we do whatever we like simply because we hold the cards. They are under our roof. We pay their fees, we feed them, and because of that, we feel we have authority over their lives. But is it really like that? Today on the program, we will be looking at all forms of abuse against children. And there's this particular kind of abuse that has such effect on these children that all their lives they begin to struggle with it. Even when they get married, they struggle with such because of the memories and the effect that it has on them. My guest on the show today is one who has passed through or had her own fair share of what abuse could do to someone. It took her time, but she's here to own up, to speak up, so that you and I can learn one or two lessons and begin to take our children more serious or look deeply into their countenance when we happen to find them in that environment that we call irritating. So don't go away. It promises to be a huge, mind-blowing, mind-boggling episode. I'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial. All right, so you're welcome back. It's still the Transformational Parenting Show, and thank you for joining us because today we're talking about forms of abuse, kind of abuse that young children, boys and girls, face at home and in society, and how such abuse, when not dealt with, how does it affect the child and the adulthood of that victim? So my guest on the program today, she's a Liberian by profession, a certified chef, and the CEO of Rami Couture, and a member of iLead Global, and she's very passionate about helping individuals heal from their childhood trauma. Ramatu Aldue, thank you for being my guest on the show today.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay, you talked about childhood trauma. I would think that probably when a child maybe had an injury or saw something, you know, that is traumatic, they outgrow it, or maybe, you know, they could get other things that will happen to them that will make them forget this. But if it gets to a point where, as an adult, you are still traumatized by those experiences, then it must be very deep. So let's talk about some of those traumas that as childhood people go through that could affect them.
Okay. One of the first things we need to look at is what really is trauma. So I'll give you a quick scenario. When a situation endangers your sense of security, be it a motor accident, a rape case, a natural disaster, that single act makes you traumatized. It threatens your sense of security in any environment.
All right. So let's talk about your experience as a young girl.
Okay. So growing up, one of the things that really caused a certain sense of trauma to my life was, the first experience I had was, there was this Islamic school you had to go to learn to read the Quran and all of it. Unfortunately, I got beat because I wasn't catching up. Now, the excess use of force traumatized me. So when I'm asked, oh, today is time to go for, I do not want to go, I draw back. But I cannot necessarily come out to say to my parents that I'm being beat too hard, because the essence of going there is to learn. Now, the first point of contact is, why have you been beat today? Not, let's talk about it.
Okay. So sometimes we just ask, why did your teacher have to flog you? What did you do
wrong? That's it. What did you do is the question.
I probably could go to the extent and say, I know that teacher, he won't do that except you have done something. But what ordinarily should have been is, let's talk about what happened today, about the flogging. What was the effect of such on you? What do you think? But do we really as parents find time or have the patience to ask those questions?
Unfortunately, a lot of parents do not. They're out of the house as early as, if you live in Lagos, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. due to the traffic situation, and you're not back till like 10, 11, you just want to catch a quick nap, literally not a sleep, a quick nap, and you're on the road again. So that gap is a major factor as to why kids don't come out really to speak. Now you're left in the hands of either a maid, an aunt, one uncle, and that is the beginning of a serious issue.
Or let me say a sense of insecurity.
A sense of insecurity for the child, because now the child begins to speak to the aunt, speak to the uncle, or the maid. And that is where a new form of abuse takes place. My scenario, my mom had a tailor working with her at the time. When she's out of the house and I'm in school, once I'm back from school, he behaves sneaky around me. And there is this beautiful way they romanticize it. Oh, you're so mature for your age. Have you heard that before? You're so mature. And that's how it starts. Sit on my lap. And that is the beginning of how I became scared. Because once they do that, they say, do not speak of what just happened. If not, if you do this, you might either lose your mom or I'll kill you. That sense of insecurity there is broken.
Now, there's another point of insecurity. First of all, you're traumatized by the fact that, oh, you're probably a particular way of, a particular learner, not as a fast learner like others. And nobody cares to ask you, why is it that you don't learn fast, or even pay attention to the fact that you're struggling All they know is you're not doing it right and you get beaten. And then the people who are supposed to protect you do not, because they keep asking the question, why are you not doing it right? From a point of view of not wanting your opinion, but being judgmental.
Yes.
Okay, so now there comes the second part, getting home and meeting someone who I guess at that time must be very useful to your mom.
Yes.
Maybe an asset to her business. And then this young man takes advantage of you, saying, oh, you look grown. I can see you're growing some hips and all that. So it's just a beginning. So compliments.
Yes.
There's certain compliments that have undertone that as parents we should watch out for.
You have to listen. Yes.
All right, so let's continue with your journey, because I know you had a very traumatic childhood, which affected you to the extent that today you're trying to heal from it by helping to heal others. So let's talk about your story. Go on.
Yeah. So we had the part of one uncle who's a tailor for my mom, and I got into high school. And we had the case of my commandant. So it doesn't stop. There is a pattern. You go home after school, you meet a different kind of uncle with a different approach to you. That same, oh, you're now grown. What are you doing? Where do you school? So they come in a very manipulative way. How about I gift you this? But you see me in the boys' quarters. If you live in the barracks, you would understand. There's always this mini space where, oh, okay, come see me later. We can work your homework together. So they look for that one thing they know they can use to pull you close. Have you washed your uniform today? Make sure you iron. They now know the timing at which you're going to iron or do something, then they come around and you begin to notice the little body touches. So there's always an incentive or something. They take their time. These people, they understand these things. They take their time to study your pattern and they keep coming around. Oh, you cooked a very nice meal today. When they come through the kitchen, they rub your hands in a certain way.
Now, as a young girl, I'm sure you didn't really pay attention to those signs. You didn't really see them as anything. You know, at what point were you now aware and began to feel uncomfortable with those compliments, those caring manners, those manipulative skills that they were using, those filling the gap, you know, that you felt your parents were not giving, that sense of insecurity? When did you start feeling very uncomfortable?
Okay, so when I was in high school, most times in the hostel, we would have conversations with the girls. And I just realized almost every other girl had something to say about one uncle touching her in a certain way. And we knew it was wrong. Because there were times where they would have like seminars or something in school and they tried to put it out there, speak up. But like I said, once your sense of security is threatened, if you speak of it, I withdrew. But at that point, I knew it was a problem. I knew there was something wrong. Because that feeling of, it is my fault, was already, it was put in me. It felt like because I had a broader hips, then they had to look at me, they had to touch me. So it was my fault to be the way I was as a young adult.
Wow. I'm sure that some of us watching the program have had cause to say the same thing. What were you wearing? How were you looking? What did you do? How were you, what were you looking for at that point where that uncle is taking advantage of you? Why is it always about the victim? Now, what we are addressing is not about girls only. Even boys are being taken advantage of. But one thing we've been able to establish is that once your sense of security is taken away, the victim takes advantage of the vacuum and wants to fill it. When these things were happening, where was your mom? Where was your dad?
Well, at the time, my mom was working, and my dad, due to the nature of his job, he was never really in town from one space to the other. That's what it had to be at the time. But it felt like it's your battle. So myself and I. So it was basically me in that sense of do not talk. So myself, that's closed mouth. And that was it.
So you couldn't at any point share. Did you at any point share this with your mother at any time?
I never did, unfortunately, till she passed on.
Now, your case resonates with a lot of young girls. And I'm sure a lot of women who are watching us, or men watching. Now, what do you think would have been the response of your mom if you had told her?
She was going to take up the case. That's a statement of fact. She would definitely take up the case.
Were you worried that her taking up the case would instill more pain, unacceptance to you?
At the time, no. All I wanted was to put the world out there. And the word was clear. Parents should be mindful of the kind of people they bring into their homes. That's it.
Wow. Well, sometimes some reality hits you and you begin to do a person check. We'll take a short break, and I want you to take time to check yourself. Have I in any time threatened the security of my child? I'll take a short break. When I come back, we'll be talking about remedy, tips, and what we can do to checkmate these seemingly friendly friends who are enemies around our childhood. Please don't go away. All right, welcome back. It's still the Transformational Parenting Show, and my name is Ramatu Aldue. My guest, Ramatu Aldue, has been sharing her experience with us with the kind of childhood trauma she went through abuse. You know, we've been able to establish that there are times we have some friends around us, some people whom we believe would do well, you know, to help us or support us in caring for our children or our businesses, and then they turn around to become terror to our children, threatening their sense of security. I mean, you can see the pattern my guests have mentioned, from school to home, and then to the boarding house, where you feel that, oh, these people should be trained and made professional in caring for their children. We find them being the ones abusing our children. Before I talk about what we should do, what were the effects of this trauma, of these experiences on you growing up and being an adult now?
Okay. One of the effects is I drew back. I found it very difficult to open up. Now, due to that fear of if you ever speak of this, it was hard for me to speak up. So I drew back. That was a major effect for me. There are days where I am upset for nothing. I'm just angry. Why did it have to be me? So I had a lot of resentment. Drawing back, being angry, resentment was the major things I had to work with. Most times, when I'm having conversations and there are certain words being used, they come off as triggers. So I just blow off. I don't want to speak to you. I just push you away. Because I'm wondering, why are these words coming out from your mouth? Now, I'm not seeing you, but I'm seeing the people of the past. So at some point, it felt like I was living in the past. So looking at a person in the present was me visualizing someone from the past. So that was a big problem for me.
So when you actually meet someone who cares and loves you, or really want to help you, you seem to push them off because you feel that there's an interior motive
Yes.
to whatever they are doing.
Yes.
You feel like, oh God, what position have I put myself again for this person to want to be friends with me? So
Yes.
a sense of distrust
Yes.
begin to come in.
Yes.
Now let's talk about parents. How do you think we can begin to help our children? One, not to be in such compromising positions that would threaten their security. What are we to do as parents to help our children?
Okay. One of the things I would encourage parents to do is have a conversation with your child. Find time for your child, no matter how busy you are. It could be mommy's day out. It should be daddy's day out, because children find a lot of confidence in speaking to their dads. In one way or the other, they just feel like, he's my dad, I can say something to him. Unfortunately, a lot of children are afraid of their mom, because moms are always, I'll discipline you. And if I tell your dad, it's that thing of, if I tell your dad, they don't want to hurt, they don't want to annoy their dad. Find time, create time, sit with your children, allow them speak. Just, how was your day today? They will tell you everything. Please listen. Listen carefully. You pick something.
Okay, but if now our children have been through that experience, how do we help them to heal?
One of the things that worked for me is I needed to identify that there was a problem from within. So as parents, you know what it is your child loves to do most. Engage them. Some kids love to write. Grab a piece of paper, scribble out something, and ask your child, what do you think? You're giving them an avenue to speak. What do you think about this drawing? Oh, let me see yours. Begin to speak. Gently, gradually, it comes up. So what's bothering you? Why are you not playing? You feel off today. Mommy, they would come a lot. They would just come around. They begin to speak. You need to learn to understand your child's language. It could be ice cream. Take them out on that ice cream date. What do you think about this ice cream flavor? Create an avenue. That conversation will come up. Now, there are kids who would not want to speak. How do you manage those kids? You give them time. You check in today. You check in tomorrow. They begin to understand you care. You're interested. You need to show that interest at all levels. If you're ready to speak today, I'm here. Join me. Let's prepare dinner. Let's do something. You have to be involved. Do something together. They would come around.
Wow, Ramatu Aldue, thank you so much for sharing these tips with us. You see, the times our children go through things, it might be with their peers. You might be perfect at home, but it might just be with a teacher or the peer or a co-worker or someone that has threatened that sense of security. Instead of asking why, ask how. And with that, you'll be able to get your child to speak and save them from the trauma that comes with such abuse and experience. Well, I hope you learned something today. If you want to know more, please follow us on all our social media platforms and feel very free to drop us a message. We would love to mentor and we would love to coach. That's what the Transformation Parenting Show is all about. Adding value to families so that we can make society a better place. I'll be with you again next week. Take care of yourself and remain blessed. Bye-bye.
I know you love me, that's so comforting. Want you, you want me, take my hand and know me better. I know you love me, that's so comforting. Want you, you want me, take my hand.